Um, you guys, I wanted to come on here because there was a recent post in the group I meant to address. I can't remember the group member's name. I'll see it afterwards. But he was saying kind of a big guy already, but he's in a gym that has some 300 plus pounders that are considerably bigger than him. He's just saying, how do I keep these guys from just smashing through my guard? Closed guard isn't really an option. I can't even get my legs around them because they have kind of stocky legs. So what do I do? And it's a good question, because even if you aren't a particularly big person already dealing with even bigger monsters, you just have to deal with one of the things that's the hardest problems to solve in jiu-jitsu is just people that are way bigger and stronger than you. Okay, because there's a certain point where maybe your skill set can overcome that, but a lot of times it's going to feel like a huge uphill battle. And just to be honest, people find even if somebody isn't at your same skill level, there is a point where their size and their strength can definitely come into play and neutralize a lot of your superior technique, and you have to get to a considerable level to adapt to these things. So I just want to talk about some simple concepts in here to be able to deal with that. So I got Dave here, who's a lot bigger than I am, and I wanted to have him with no gi and me with gi, just to talk about this, because I don't want to have the answer to this ever be, trying to use a lot of grips, right? That's not the answer, but I do want to have to always have my technique adaptable if he has the option to use mine. So I saw some people jump on and say, oh, play spider guard. Now we're getting into activity-specific things, like sport-specific. Like, play a certain type of guard is not the answer. So I appreciate the input, but I can just tell you from a coaching standpoint, I totally disagree. There's not a certain type of guard you play, because that's going to be individual. You don't impose a certain particular specific skill set on somebody for advice. You need to talk about the fundamentals, and you need to then let them have the freedom to adapt particular types of games. But again, even if you say play spider guard, 2 feet in the biceps, and you've had success keeping big guys off you, somebody else won't have that. And then what happens if you take the gi off, right? So let's talk about some universal principles in here. And again, I'm going to assume I'm not even talking about closed guard right now, even though I love closed guard. But let's say that's out of the question, because the question did have to do with I can't do closed guard, I can't get my legs around, and that is something that comes up with people sometimes. So we got David here. So first thing, let's say I'm opening my guard. Now right now, I do have the advantage of the fact that Dave is down on both knees, which means he can only put so much pressure forward. But let's talk about this first, and then we'll kind of escalate. When Dave's on both knees, he's going to have to do a lot more with his arms. But even from here, if, say, Dave, you just kind of came forward and kind of wrapped my legs up, and he's hugging your legs, and even from here, this can be a problem. If I let somebody bigger and stronger get here, even though he's not really playing off the balls of his feet at all, and his weight is kind of sitting down on his knees, not a lot of forward pressure, right? But he can still tie me up here, and it can feel crushing. So I want you guys just to think about from here is, I don't need specific grips. As a matter of fact, what I'd rather do is create distance. And one of the things we think about is very literal motions we know from almost day one doing warm-ups in jiu-jitsu, like shrimp crawls down the floor, is the way that I can create distance is by escaping my hips to make space for my hips, and by retracting my shoulders to make space for my upper body. Okay? What happens a lot of times from here is people do one or the other, right? So let's say, Dave, you're muckling on, you can use your grips and everything. Good. So he's muckling on, and I'm just trying to do this. And I'm trying to push him away, I'm trying to extend away, and now he just falls on me and smash, right? Everything's going to get smashed from that point, okay? Alternatively, let's say that he's in here like this, and I'm trying to do it from the other side. I'm trying to do a shrimp like this, and then go ahead and grab my collar. Yeah, don't let me get my shoulders away from you, okay? So now I'm trying to move from here. I'm trying to play balled up like this. I'll show it from the other side, okay? I come in here, now he's holding on, or even come around this side. Good. No, with your arm, with your grip. Good. He's holding on here, and now I'm trying to play the game in here like this, and now I'm crushed, and I'm kind of balled up too, and if you're not real flexible in your spine, you start to feel like you're getting really roughed up from there, and he'll start to just smash your legs, come around, okay? So it's doing the right thing at the right time and creating natural frames and posts with your body. So from here, okay, what you'll notice is, I'm going to have you come across here. I'm going to say I don't even have a very good frame on Dave. He's starting to smash down in that leg, okay? What you'll notice is from here, if he's already got my lapel, okay, it's going to be hard for me to move my shoulders away right now, but all his guns are facing there. So instead, what I do is before he completely shuts down my hips in here, okay, I'm just going to shrimp. Okay, I'm going to escape my hips. Okay, so start coming forward to pass. Good. Escape my hips, and now, look, even if I didn't have this in before, I can definitely put that into the notch of his hip. And now if you just drive your hips forward on me, good. See how he just runs into its bone structure. My femur versus his hip bone. That buys me a little bit of time. And now from here, okay, keep coming. From here, okay, I extend my shoulders away, and then look what happens. We have distance between us. And now as he's starting to, he was going to come over this leg, right? Now as he's starting to have to reorient himself, I put my foot on his hip, and I move again, and now I've got, look, I've got a foot on the hip, and I've got a natural frame here up in his shoulder. So now keep coming, keep trying to crush me. Good, keep crushing, yeah. Now you'll notice he couldn't crush on his knees, he had to stand up. And this is what happens, okay? Shoe up from this angle so you can kind of see straight on. Okay. So we can go here, what I'm gonna do is, to take like closed guard out of the equation, I'm gonna have you just step over this leg. Okay, so let's say maybe it's a situation, I don't even have a full open guard in effect yet, he's even sort of in half guard. A lot of times guys are fighting in here, trying to use grips, so he smashes you down, smashes your legs, walks through, cross faces you, you got some monster on you, cross facing you and sliding his leg through. Okay, so from here, go ahead and start crushing, right? So right now, Dave is down, his body is down here on my thighs and hips, okay? So really get low and tight on me, like low and tight, good. So you'll notice from here that if I want to try and do like a bridge and get an underhook, it's stuffed. I have no space to get an underhook on Dave in here. But what I can still do, okay, you notice down in my hips, is I can still from here, even though he's crushing my legs and hips, I can still move my hips. And then, bingo, look what happens. All of a sudden I have a natural frame. That works, gi or no gi. That's escaping my hips, move, put that in. Okay, now from here, anything I'm doing with my arms is pretty much secondary. I extend away, okay? Keep trying to crush me. Foot goes on the hip, switch. Okay, now all of a sudden, look, I made the space, foot goes on the hip, knee is up in his shoulder. Now if he tries to smash it, right, it's very difficult. He's got to stand, okay? And I keep moving from here, right? And now from here is where I have enough room that any type of guard that does feel good to me, I can start to swim my legs into different positions, get different grips and attachments if that's my goal, go on offense. But it's going to be very hard for him to smash me at that point. Now let's look at same situation, but this time instead of being down smashing on my hips and my thighs, where I mentioned bridging doesn't really help because he's down here, right? If you were to draw a line across your torso, they're down there, you're not going to be able to bridge and get an underhook if they're really tight, especially if they're way heavier and stronger than you. However, once somebody's pressure starts to come up above that, so they're sort of like in the upper hemisphere, okay, now here's where bridging makes sense, okay? Down here, I escape my hip, make a natural frame. Now as Dave's getting up higher, I'm trying to keep up that cross face, but look at where his pressure is. He's grinding down, so what? Bridge, boom, here we go, okay? Now I've got a nice frame in here, keeping that cross face off, smash, 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 okay? And all I'm doing is going where he is not, okay? So, anytime I have the opportunity to keep my opponent basically below this line, okay, so draw a line right across your torso, okay, turn on like a flashlight beam, aiming out here like this, that is for me to make frames, okay, by moving my hips, retracting my shoulder, move my hips, retract my shoulder. The only other thing you need to add in there basically is move your hips, make a frame, retract your shoulder, switch, better frame. Okay, he keeps coming, he keeps trying to, like say, shove a leg down, move your shoulder, frame, okay, retract your hips. So it's just that constant play between that basic shrimp motion we do over and over again. Hips, move your shoulder away, make a better frame, make a better connection to your partner. As soon as they come above that, that's the moment where, you know, I might not be able to just move my hip because he's already up past that. may not be able to do the job. He's starting to really lock down my upper body. That's where I bridge, and then I can start to get in an underhook. Of course, I have to have decent arm position habits before that. So let's just kind of summarize here a little bit, okay? I'm just gonna have you start going. You can use grips and everything like this, okay? I'm not trying to just push him. That's not gonna work, okay? I'm trying to make these natural frames. Once I make those natural frames, I know it's a matter of time, okay? So maybe you feel that foot on your hip, you're gonna try and address that. You're gonna try and get rid of it, okay? Here we go. So now I switch, okay? Natural frame again coming in here, okay? So Dave keeps coming in, move my hips, now I move my upper body away. And look where I'm back in again. Keep coming, use your grips. Use grips. Yeah, he's standing for added pressure, okay? Don't reach up so high real quick, because if you let me have free play with my legs, you'll pass all day long, okay? So start to address my legs. Good, yep. Here, move, okay? See what happened right there? Now Dave's starting to try and beat this leg. I'm transferring weight from the mat onto him, by the way. I'm not just here slack. Okay, feel the difference? Go to stuff that leg. Good, this is down, okay? Now from here, again. Yeah, see, I put a delay on it because I'm actually standing on his hip as opposed to just putting my foot on his hip. Make sense? It's hard to see, but it's there, okay? Now what happens, he tries to fake me out. All of a sudden he jumps back a little bit. He jumps back, I'll track this, I'll get up, okay? But as long as Dave's putting pressure in here, I'm standing on his hip. Now I feel him trying to kill that leg. Good, and if he does, I switch, move, yep, make a barrier in here. He comes down low, trying to kill it. Good, we're right back into it. Move my hip, move my shoulder away. Look at all that space I have. Back in again, okay? So, think not so much balling up, trying to hold on with your grips against somebody who's already trying to pull themselves into you and smash you, and they're already bigger. That's not really the best way to do it. The best way to do it is escaping your hips, escaping your shoulder, make them have to chase you, right? Instead of them being able to fall on top of your chest, where they want to be, where they can hold on, crush you, smash through your legs. Instead, they're always having to fall into your hip. And every time they're falling into your hip, right, you can move, make a frame, move away, okay? Here, in those transitions, any grips that are your favorite grips to play for a gi, for instance, you can just pick up. But meanwhile, all natural frames deny, right? Their range is always wrong when you do that. And in any martial art, but in particular in grappling arts and jiu-jitsu, distance management, whether we're talking sports, self-defense, anything, is always key. So what you're doing right now is managing distance, and let's also think that when my offense comes into play, what's the best time to launch offense on somebody? It's when they're falling in the wrong spot, right? Their weight is coming forward, and now, where's the best place for me to sweep? It's when they're off balance, because he wanted to come in and smash me, get my chest, right, pass my guard, come around, get on my chest. Now, meanwhile, he's falling into my hips, into my belly. That's the best place for me to sweep, best place for me to catch him unaware and start to either go right into a submission or at least set up the submission. All right, so hopefully that's helpful, and talk to you guys soon.